What's up, Commanders fans? So I wanted to double down on what I talked to y'all about earlier in the week, right? When I talked to y'all about the defense, I wanted to help y'all understand how much we have to move forward, but also how much we gained by getting rid of certain people that we had on this defense that wasn't doing us any justice, right? So, one, us getting rid of Dante Fowler, in the beginning, it sounded like it was a bad move, but his 10.5 sacks, I promise, can be replicated. They can be. And it's not hard to because of the defensive coordinator we have, the defensive minded head coach we have in Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. These guys can replicate the same thing. They've done it with multiple people. So them being here was perfect. But us also having a guy like Dante Fowler was perfect. One, it was and it wasn't at the same time because Dante Fowler got 10.5 sacks. But when you think about the total amount of defensive runs that we allowed in yards, it was terrible, right? We were 30th in the league in stopping the run. And that was with his 10.5 sacks. And I keep mentioning this, but if we would have won the Super Bowl, right, we wouldn't be talking about this, and we probably still would have let go of Dante Fowler. But I want y'all to understand that since we didn't win the Super Bowl, these are some of the things that we have to change. We have to talk about. We have to manage. And it's like crazy because you compare Dante Fowler to Dorrance Armstrong in the playoffs, and it was a completely different person, different atmosphere, different results, right? So, when I talk about Dante Fowler, I'm saying he was average, honestly, but the system he played in and the fact that he neglected the stop and the run to always go after the quarterback, it kind of led us in the wrong direction when it comes to stopping the run. So we let up 2,337 yards, right? And if we were to put this into perspective, like the Chiefs and the Eagles at the most, their range was 1,700 yards in the run game. That's the amount that they let up, right? And then who was the best at stopping the run was the Ravens, right? So, and they had 1,300, and I know they had the best. Like it was no, really comparing them to anybody because they were the best at stopping the run. But that was something that I thought about. I'm like, yo, if we had 10.5 sacks, what difference does it make if we're 30th? Get rid of the guy. Because I'd rather have those 10.5 sacks split between other people, and then we're not 30th in the defense in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? So, and then you think about what we had total as a total defense. We had 43 sacks, right? So, what if us getting rid of him allows us to still get back to that 40 sacks? And that 43 sacks allowed us to be 11th in the league in sacks. So if we can get to that range again, probably 40 to 50 sacks without Dante Fowler, what difference do it make? Because sometimes we look at the sacks and we like, yo, I think we get so caught up in that. But then when the analytics come out and the details come out and we talk about, damn, he allowed this many yards, he allowed this much, our defense was this terrible. What difference do it make if we keep him on the team? So it's perfect that we got rid of him. Now we can have guys that can manage a game, can put the team first and not their actual stats first, right? And of course, this is why guys get paid, because they go off and they have these many sacks in the game. This is why Trey Hendrickson is a person that people want to go after. Myles Garrett is a person they want to go after. But we also have to understand that these guys are also great at stopping the run. So, Dante Fowler, deuces. And when I go down the list of everything that we did last season, we have a lot to improve on. But we got a lot that we did right. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to the sacks, we were in a good portion of the league. We were 11th in the league. So that was perfect. But when it came to interceptions, we were terrible. We were terrible. We were 26th in the league in interceptions. So we had 7. And Mike Sanders still was responsible for 2 of them. So, and believe it or not, we all probably forgot this, but Emmanuel Forbes was one of those guys that was responsible for an interception. Frankie Louvu had an interception. And then it's like when we think about the guys that we still have on the team, it's like we know we still have hope in this team and we have more to grow. If Frankie Louvu continues to play the way that he played last season, and with him having Bobby Wagner back for another year to have chemistry with already, and then them playing multiple more games together, it's going to allow Frankie Louvu to even go higher in his sacks because they already understand each other. Now they just got to play on time, and they already work together well. So that's going to allow Frankie Louvu to go above the 8 sacks that he had last season. And him still playing with Mikey Sanders still in the box. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is perfect for them too, because they were, in the first few games, they were getting at it. They was going off. And, like, to think about the 7 interceptions that we had as a team, and we compare that to, like, the Vikings, for example, because they made the playoffs. So it's perfect that I use them. So they had 24 interceptions. So if we can get anywhere close to that, maybe even I'll say 14, 15. If we can get there, that's the main goal. Is if we can get, it's a dream, but if we can get into the 10 bracket, and 10 most teams in the NFL, with the most interceptions, most sacks, most forced fumbles, most fumble recoveries. Like, we wasn't able to get as many turnovers as we wanted last season. And our defense was an outlier last season, and we still got to the playoffs and got through it. Not just to it, but through it. And the injuries that the Lions had on their team was perfect timing. Sorry to say that, but it worked in our favor. The Buccaneers, underestimating us and Jaden Daniels and how he was able to play, and then us getting that field goal at the end of the game to seal it was perfect. Everything was perfect timing for us in last season's games. So this season now it's perfect because it's like last season was just everything for Jaden Daniels. It was him putting us on his back, and then in the very first few games, it was us putting him on our backs. So we had 16 forced fumbles, right? And out of those 16 forced fumbles, we only were able to get 10 of them things. So this year, I want to see us get all of them things. I know that sounds wild, but yeah, man, like let's capitalize on those, and the Bills were responsible for getting the most fumble recoveries, and they had 16. So it wasn't like they were off by many, but in the long run, you want to make sure you're capitalizing on each and every opportunity. And of course, it's hard to, but for the fumble recoveries, for the forced fumbles, we were close. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Eagles had 22. So it's numbers everywhere to really think about and to look at and to really compare our team to. But if we can get closer to these numbers next season, that's all that I ask. And I know it's going to happen because we have a system going on. We have new players in the building. We have guys that know how to play fast. We have Trey Amos, who's stood out over the last few weeks in OTAs, and he's shown that he can already play at a high level. I mean, the pads ain't on yet, but that does make a huge difference. But that's something to look forward to right now. And, Marshawn is not there just yet. Of course, he may be there for when training camp becomes mandatory, which is next week, all next week, from the 2nd all the way into the 6th of June, is going to be mandatory training. So if these guys, like I said before, if these guys like Terry McLaurin or Marshawn Lattimore or Laramie Tunsil don't show up, then we got a problem. And out of all those three, I told you, Terry McLaurin is going to get paid without a doubt. And that's because that's Jaden Daniels' #1 target. And he's already shown in his very first year that he can do great things with Jaden. And, with Terry. And Laramie Tunsil is perfect for this offense. And this is somebody that we need. And we traded a lot of draft capital for him. So to see him not get paid would be crazy. Would be stupid. So that's something that is going to happen first overall. After Terry, but it's going to happen for a fact. And for Marshawn Lattimore to not get a deal, I wouldn't be surprised. One, because with the year he had last season and him re-injuring himself and us just not feeling very confident in him, kind of had us like, oh, yeah, we could do without him. I'm not the only one that thinks that. A lot of people feel that way. And a lot of people feel like he washed, but sometimes you can't come back off an injury and play good. And look what it's done for Saquon Barkley. You know what I'm saying? He's had a lot of injuries and came back. And then now look at him. So, of course, he's in a whole different atmosphere. He got a whole different offense around him, whole different defense around him. So that all played a role. But he still plays at a high level. And, that would be crazy if Laramie Tunsil doesn't get paid, because we've traded a lot for him. So I believe it was 2 this year and 2 last year, in trades, in draft capital. So it was like, and then for us to have to pay him and not pay him, it'd be crazy. So, like I said, we still have main guys here on our defense. And those main guys are Dorrance Armstrong, Frankie Louvu, Clelin Ferrell. And I know Clelin Ferrell didn't do much last season, but in those first 2 games, he had a sack. And he was showing that he was that guy, but he got injured. And you can see what happens when you get injured. And that's most of the reasons why most guys become bust. Most guys become mediocre, because injuries play a role. And hopefully this season, Clelin Ferrell's healthy. Frankie Louvu can move up another notch, because he has Bobby Wagner in the backfield with him again. He don't got just a random player working with him, somebody that he got to learn. No, he got Bobby Wagner back. So that was a guy that was responsible for most of his success. And Frankie had 8 sacks. Clelin Ferrell had 3.5. Dorrance Armstrong had 5 in the regular season and then 3 in the postseason. So that's something that I want to see. I want to see these guys prosper this year, because they're back. They already played in the system. So that's the number one thing when you first get in the system, is trying to play fast, because you're trying to learn the system, figure out where to go, figure out what they need you to do, how to drop back. Once you get comfortable with it and it's like second nature, then you're just reacting. So that's something that all these guys have, and they're going to elevate. And you got to think about this, right? Our team was in the 30th bracket out of the whole entire NFL in rushing, right? And defending the run. You don't think us getting people that can capitalize on that, and not just that, but us getting guys that make sound decisions, guys that care about the team overall, and then think about what we got. And then, hold on, let me add this in there. Believe it or not, with Michael Davis with Benjamin St. Juice starting 14 out of 17 games, right? Stay with me. We were 4th in the league in passing, allowing passing yards. So that's something that a lot of us didn't even think about. And okay, overall as a team, we were still, on defense, we were still a terrible defense, really. But when you split them up and you talk about just the passing, we were doing good. We were really doing good. So imagine what we're going to be now with Mikey Sanders still back. And because of Trey Amos, we can put him back in the slot, allow him to play good. Noah Igbenogany is back, who played better than Benjamin St. Juice. And they had pretty much the same amount of pass deflections and not the same amount of tackles, but Noah Igbenogany could tackle. He had 50 tackles. Benjamin St. Juice could tackle too, but he wasn't good at coverage. So we had to get rid of him. So now we got guys that can play physical, can keep up with the defense, with the offense. And we have Marshawn Lattimore back. So him being healthy is something that, is questionable. Trey Amos is playing out of his mind right now in OTAs. So that's perfect. That's something to look forward to. Noah Igbenogany is back, and Mike Sanders still is back. So I can only see these guys going up, and to get rid of the problems in the defense, which was Michael Davis and Benjamin St. Juice. And how would that increase our defensive play? How would that allow us to be even better? Because we're going up. And the penalties are gone down already. So that's something to look forward to. And we allowed 25 touchdowns last season. And that wasn't bad. It wasn't good. But it was, how could I say? It was something that we can improve on. And the team with the least amount of touchdowns allowed was the Lions, and they allowed 18. So what does that tell you? We wasn't far off from being good at not allowing touchdowns. So 25 to 18, come on now. And the most allowed was by the Panthers, and they allowed 35. That's 10 more than us. So we were somewhere in the middle, you know what I'm saying? So this is something to look forward to. But you got to know, in order for you to know where you want to be, you got to know where you came from. So we came from Benjamin St. Juice and Michael Davis. Now we got Trey Amos, Mikey Sanders still, and we got Marshawn Lattimore. Question mark. But who knows how that situation might end up if he decides to hold out next week for mandatory training camp. And we were 4th, like I said, in passing and stopping the pass. So that's something to look forward to. I don't know where we're going to balance out, but I hope we can make it and be a top 10 defense all around. Top 10 in passing, top 10 in rushing, and defending the run and defending the pass. So hopefully we can do that. But with what we have now and the guys that we brought in, Dietrich Wise, Jacob Martin, the list goes on. Hopefully we can see these guys at the bottom of the roster step up. Andre Jones, he been there for a while. I want to see him step up. Is he going to get kicked off the team, or is he going to continue to stay on practice squad? I want to see these guys elevate, but the only way they can elevate is to learn the system and to play their ass off. And, with the fire that Jaden Daniel has put into this team, has really got everybody believing. And our offense is already going up. Our offense is going to be more efficient at the things that we were trying to do last season. And then I hear rumors about the fact that we got rid of De'Ami Brown and how this was one of those decisions that we probably going to regret. And I highly doubt that, because Jalen Lane can do all the things that freaking De'Ami Brown was trying to do. He's fast like De'Ami. He's quick like Olamide. And he can be used on special teams. And we also tried to use De'Ami for running. But that was ass. It was not running. He wasn't moving the offense. So not just getting Deebo Samuel to help the offense. He's helping the wide receivers. He's helping Terry McLaurin get some of the pressure off of him. And then you got Deebo to worry about. Then you got not just Jaden Daniels to worry about, but Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler. And then you got Deebo coming out the backfield. And Deebo going to get about 40 to 60 touches. So that's going to lessen the load for Brian Robinson. And so when those times, hopefully Brian Robinson go through a full season. But hopefully if he's not there, we can count on what Deebo can do to really boost the offense. And who knows, Jalen Lane might be there and running in the backfield too. Might be having what we have now is a full offense. We got guys everywhere to do a lot of things. And Jalen Lane can be used and look, you want to run pass option, you know what I'm saying? You can do whatever you want. Wildcat, you know what I'm saying? Do whatever you want. And we got a full offense. It's like before we couldn't do as much as we wanted to. And of course we was getting rid of guys in the middle of the season, in the beginning of the season. Like we was losing guys left and right. And at the beginning of the season was Jahan Dotson. So that kind of put a crutch on us, but De'Ami stepped up. So De'Ami being gone ain't making a huge difference, but it ain't making a difference at all, because we got somebody to replace him. So, and then we got Luke on another year. So we got talented guys. We're trying to get younger at the position, but right now we're trying to lock in guys like Terry, lock in guys like Laramie Tunsil. If Marshawn don't want to be here, trade him. Give him up. He might not be worth it, or he might be. And that type of move that we made to get him was just perfect timing, because it allowed us to not spend a lot of money on him and get him at the right time. And we used him for the time being. He allowed us to, he helped us through that rough patch that we had trying to make it to the playoffs. So I can't be mad. Everything we had last year, I can't be mad at, because it was just mediocre. And the years before that was mediocre with Ron Rivera. So we're just, this team, this organization is just breaking down everything we had before. We're almost done breaking down. So the next thing we need to do is just elevate. And who knows what we're going to be investing in come this draft. But more than likely it might be a defensive end and middle linebacker and maybe safety and maybe tight end. But because we're getting old at the position, and we need some guys that, can really bring some juice to those areas. I know that sounds wild, but just bear with me. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. I know I've been rapping, but like I said, this is where we was, and where we need to go is we need to learn from that, and we need to be in that range that I spoke of. We got to get there. We got to do better in certain areas, and we're not far off. So, and the way I look at it, we went up this year in a lot of areas, especially on offense. And I'm out.